Story 1. The Blindfolded Woman. The first story was told by Adam, but it's not actually his story. It's one he heard from the father of his best friend, who had been a pastor for most of his life. He has no real proof that the story happened, but he's known his best friend's dad for many years, and the man has a reputation for being honest, trustworthy, and kind. Anyway, back then, this man, let's call him Mark, was preparing Christmas decorations in the church he worked at since the event was coming up. One day, his secretary came to get him, saying a woman was there who apparently needed help. Mark went to meet her and saw that she was wearing a blindfold. When she heard Mark arriving, she immediately threw herself into his arms and asked if he was a man of God. He told her yes, that he was a believer and the pastor of the church she was standing in. She instantly dropped to her knees and started thanking God for guiding her there. She explained that the devil was trying to catch her, and the only way to protect herself was not to know where she was, because if she knew, he could track her. Mark asked for her name, but she said she couldn't give it to him, because if she spoke it aloud, the devil would be able to find her. He asked where she lived, and she said she didn't know. Then she asked if she could stay at the church. That's when he started thinking something serious was going on. She was giving no information at all, refused to say anything personal. So he asked how she had gotten to the church. She told him she had come by car and that the devil couldn't catch her because angels had guided her the entire way. Okay, that explanation sounded naive. Mark honestly thought she was making fun of him, messing with him, and he didn't like it. He told her so, but she wanted to prove she wasn't lying. She walked to her car, still blindfolded, got in, and drove around the church with no problem at all. She even parallel parked perfectly, still with the blindfold on, without seeing anything. So Mark finally agreed to help her, to find her a safe place to stay. But he stayed cautious and decided to call a police officer friend before leaving, just in case things went wrong. The three of them went to a hotel run by someone from the church congregation, and Mark explained the whole situation. The woman asked if she could take a shower since she apparently hadn't been able to wash in 4 days. They gave her the key to a room and told her she could spend the night for free. She immediately went upstairs, still blindfolded. While she was in the bathroom, Mark, his cop friend, and the hotel owner stayed downstairs talking about what to do. The police officer said they absolutely needed to check her identity to see if she had family or was listed as missing. So the cop went into her room while she was in the shower and found her wallet. Inside was her driver's license. He called the station and asked if anyone by that name had been reported missing. The answer, yes. This woman had disappeared 8 days ago. Mark gave the hotel's address to the authorities right away. And that's when things got really weird. As the three men were talking, they heard a blood-curdling scream coming from the woman's room. She was screaming from the bathroom, saying, "He found me. He's here." Then silence. The three men rushed upstairs and broke down the bathroom door. But when they got in, no one was there. No woman. Nothing. No windows. No closets to hide in. The only thing left in the room was the blindfold, sitting in the shower. She had just vanished. For weeks afterward, they stayed in contact with the authorities to see if the woman had turned up somewhere, but nothing. No trace. Her disappearance was so bizarre that the three men were even suspected of being involved in it. Thankfully, they were cleared thanks to security camera footage. Since that day, Mark never saw her again. He never got any answers. He has no idea where the investigation went, whether they found her or not, or what really happened that night. When Mark told the story to Adam, he added that this was the second most terrifying thing he'd ever witnessed during his career, and that he'd never be ready to talk about the first. I wish I knew what the first one was, because this story alone, it's already one of the most disturbing I've ever heard. There's just no rational explanation. She entered the room. Security footage saw that. But no one ever saw her come out. And whatever happened to her? It's terrifying. Story 2. The Man from the Mountains. The story takes place during the summer of 2012. Amy was 17 years old, and she had just landed her first ever job. At the time, she was living deep in the countryside of West Virginia, in a very small community. A friend of her mother's owned a campground not far from where she lived, and she offered Amy a summer job working in the campground's small general store. It was a simple gig, and Amy was excited. She saw it as a chance to meet tourists, people from other places, and learn new things. That meant a lot to her because she came from such an isolated place. She started the job, and one day, a man walked into the store. He was tall, imposing, his clothes were ragged, and he had a big beard. Amy explained that in her area, it wasn't uncommon to meet hermits from the mountains, and this guy looked exactly like the kind of people she'd already seen around. That day, he bought a few basic items, including some handmade soap produced by the store staff. He stepped up to the counter, looked Amy up and down slowly, and she said he probably hadn't seen many humans lately, let alone girls. Then he spoke. He asked her if she was the one who made the soap he was holding. She told him that maybe, since she sometimes helped make it. He nodded and simply said, "I like it." Amy didn't really know how to respond. She finished bagging his items, gave him his change, and he headed toward the exit. But before leaving, he turned around, stared directly into her eyes, and asked, "Do you know how to cook?" Amy replied that sometimes she did. The man then said, "I bet the men around here love you." Amy didn't know what to say. It caught her completely off guard. She hadn't said anything that would warrant a comment like that. She felt completely weirded out. When she told her boss Crystal what happened, Crystal just laughed and said, "You just met one of the local weirdos." But Amy wasn't laughing. Every time she told that story to friends or family, they brushed it off. But she knew deep down that she'd been in danger that day. Unfortunately for her, the man kept coming back to the store, more and more often. As time passed, Amy learned more about him. He did, in fact, live alone in the mountains, in a wooden cabin. He hunted for his own food, grew vegetables, and was almost entirely self-sufficient. The only time he interacted with people was when he came down to the campground for essentials. Over time, the man's conversations turned creepy again, just like that first day. He began saying things like, "It'd be great to have a woman like you up at the cabin," or "You'd be perfect knowing how to cook and make things." One day, he commented on her body. He told her that her hips were perfect for reproduction, and that all the boys in town probably thought the same. That's when Amy really started feeling unsafe. She remained polite, but always refused when he invited her to go fishing, hunting, or to see the cabin. The more she declined, the more insistent he became. Finally, she told Crystal very clearly that this wasn't funny anymore and that she felt seriously threatened. Crystal told her, "Okay, next time he comes in, call me and I'll handle it so you don't have to talk to him." After that, whenever the man visited the store, it was Crystal who handled the checkout, and Amy could avoid him. At least until that night. That night, it was 10 p.m. Crystal had left early, and Amy was closing the store alone. She rushed to her car in the parking lot. She even took a moment to check the back seat, just in case. She got in, turned the key, nothing. The engine wouldn't start. She panicked. Why tonight, of all nights? She grabbed her phone, about to call someone for help. That's when she heard a knock on her window. It was him, the man from the mountains. He asked if she needed help. Amy shook her head and told him that everything was fine, that her father was already on his way. A complete lie. She hadn't spoken to her father in years. The man started laughing. He told her, "No, he's not. He's not coming. Open the door." Amy was frozen with fear. She told him to leave her alone. He didn't like that. He grabbed the handle and started trying to open the door. Then he started pulling at the window frame. Amy screamed at him to stop and threatened to call the cops. He didn't stop. He kept trying to break in. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. The dispatcher took her seriously immediately. She told Amy that a patrol car had been dispatched, but because Amy was in a remote area, it might take a while. Amy screamed at the man again, told him the police were coming and that he should leave. He paused, then walked toward his pickup truck. She thought, okay, he's leaving. I'm safe. But no, he came back. This time, holding a crowbar. He smashed the window. Amy instinctively ducked and protected her head. Just then, she heard two men yelling from the distance. Hey, get away from her. She looked up. Two campers were running toward her. One had a shotgun. They aimed it at the man. He froze. The two men held him at gunpoint until the police arrived. The man was arrested on the spot. Amy was safe. The two campers? Absolute heroes. A few days later, Amy went to the police to give her statement. Apparently, the man had been living completely off-grid for years, just as he told her. The police searched his cabin. Inside, they found a journal. In it, he had written obsessively about Amy, page after page, describing her, fantasizing, and even outlining a detailed plan to kidnap her. The police didn't let Amy read everything, but they confirmed that he was 100% planning to take her. Thankfully, the officers now had enough to lock him up, and with a little luck, he'll spend the rest of his life behind bars. The scariest part? If her car had started that night, she might not be alive today. Story 3. The Thing on the Second Floor. Ayoub works the night shift in an office building and usually finishes around 8 in the morning. During his lunch break, he often takes a nap. He's a real nap expert. He works on the 14th floor, but since the building is nearly empty at night, he always goes down to the second floor to sleep. Why? Because in winter, there's no heating on that floor, and it stays cool enough that all he needs is his coat to feel perfectly comfortable. The floor is abandoned and unused, which is another reason Ayoub likes it. No one around, no distractions. The layout is weird though. There's a long hallway circling the whole building, designed as a waiting area for conference rooms that are rarely used. Along that hallway, there are super comfy chairs, and Ayoub always arranges 2 of them behind a pillar to stay out of sight. There's one other strange thing about that floor. The lights are messed up. Instead of turning on when you walk by, they're always on, and they turn off when someone passes under a sensor. It's completely backwards. But since the floor is abandoned, nobody ever bothered to fix it. One night, around 3:30 a.m. May, Ayoub sets up his favorite 2 chairs behind the pillar and falls asleep in under 30 seconds. But not long after, something wakes him. Footsteps, getting closer. He also hears the clinking of a keyring. His first thought is that it's just the janitor doing rounds. No big deal. He figures when the janitor finds him, he'll just flash his employee badge and explain he was napping. But then he notices something strange. The footsteps and keys stop right outside the room, but whoever it is doesn't come in. They just stop. Ayoub waits. Nothing. Then the sound starts again, but it's not moving away. It's staying in the same place, as if the person is pacing in place at the far end of the corridor. After a few minutes of this weird sound loop, Ayoub decides to get up and see what's going on. Maybe it's a coworker messing with him. One of his superiors. Probably not, they don't carry keys like that. That calms him a little. At least he won't get in trouble. But when he tries to move, he can't. He's paralyzed. He struggles. Nothing. His body won't respond. He eventually manages to roll onto his back, but still can't move his arms, legs, head, nothing. Only his eyes. That's when the lights go out. And remember, on that floor, The lights only turn off when someone walks under a sensor, which means something just walked in. Then he feels it. Something heavy, something pressing down hard on his chest. The keys? Right above his face now. He feels two large hands pinning him in place, like someone is sitting on him, crushing him, staring down at him. He says the moment felt like an eternity, though it probably lasted a minute or two. Then the weight lifts. He opens his eyes fully. No one. Nothing. But he still hears the footsteps and the keys, slowly walking away. He jumps up and notices something even creepier. The two chairs he had arranged neatly behind the pillar are now in the middle of the hallway. He always puts them behind the pillar. Always. But now they've been moved. He doesn't even finish the nap. He grabs his stuff and runs back to the 14th floor. Since that night, Ayub has never napped on the second floor again. He eventually told a coworker what happened. The coworker listened and then casually replied with a story of his own. Apparently, during construction of the building, a worker died suicide, not accident. And ever since, people have reported seeing strange things on that floor. Apparitions, movement, sounds, and the most chilling part? Some say they've heard a janitor's keys jingling, even when no one was there. Ayub tried to laugh it off. He wanted to believe it was all just a bad dream, a hallucination. But when his coworker casually said, "Yeah, the keys, that's the weirdest part, right?" Ayub didn't laugh. He didn't say a word, because he knew he hadn't imagined that sound. He had lived it, and he still doesn't know what really happened that night.